All right, so here's the warm-up that you should have completed. A granola bite contains 27 calories. Most of the calories come from C grams of carbohydrates. The rest come from other ingredients. 1 gram of carbohydrate contains 4 calories. This is the equation. 4C plus 5 equals 27. And we need to answer the following question. First is, what could 5 represent in this situation? Ryan? Anyone get something different? That is correct. So you'll see the learning targets here in a second, but I always like to do the warm-up first. But part of what we've been trying to master is understanding what each part of the equation is talking about. So in this case, the 4 would be that 1 gram of carbohydrate contains 4 calories. C would be the number of carbohydrates. If this is my total calories, then the 5 must be the calories for the other ingredients. All right, so just connect it to the real world situation. What makes sense? The second question, we have Priya said that neither 8 nor 3 could be the solution to the equation. Explain why she is correct. Brandon?
Too much.
So 8 would be too much, 3 would be too little. How did you determine if it was too much?
I rewrote the equation.
So you plugged it in where?
The C.
Into the C. Because that would be your solution to the equation. It would be what the variable equals, right? So if it's asking whether 8 or 3 could be a solution, plug in the 8. You might not even have to fully complete the problem. Because what's 4 times 8? And then when you add 5, that would only make it bigger. It's already too big. 32 plus 5 is. Does that equal 27? No. No. So definitely cannot be 8. Let's see if it could be 3. So again, plug it in for the Z. Keep everything else as it was given to you. And remember your order of operation. So you multiply before you add. What's 4 times 3? 12. And then 12 plus 5 is 17 equal to 27. No. So that could be your explanation. On your constructed response, if you showed me this, I would accept that and I would give you full points. If you just explained that plugging in 8 or 3 would not give a value that equals 27, perfect, you fully answered the question. Some of what I've noticed is that you guys had great thoughts, but you didn't fully answer the question. So it's a learning process. We'll get better at it. Find the solution to the equation. So there's a couple ways you can find the solution to the equation. Anyone know what the solution is? Jalen? 5.5. Anyone get something other than that? All right, so let me kind of show you. Well, actually, let's just stay right here. This goal of this lesson today isn't really to learn how to solve. I imagine that that's coming up later. It's more to explain what the solution of the equation means. So there's 2 ways you could find it. You could kind of guess and check, see like, okay, well, 8's too big, 3 is too small, maybe 5, maybe if I make it 5.5, and then just keep plugging in until you find where I am. There's also a way to kind of make your life easier and solve for the C algebraic. So let's talk about that. Anytime you want to solve for C, you need to isolate the variable by getting rid of what's farther from it. So what's farther, the 4 or the 5? The 5. The 4 is pushed right up against it, the 5 is separated by that plus. So I need to cancel out that 5. How can I make that 5 0?
You take 5, 7.
I could subtract 5, that makes it 0. But whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side. That's what makes it equal, right? You can do anything to both sides, and it'll still be equal as long as you do it to both sides. So then on the left, I just have the 4C. On the right, combined line terms, it's 27 minus 5. And now the C is not by itself yet, so you have to keep going. What's currently being done to the C right now? What is that 4 doing to the C? Multiplying. When they're smushed together, that implies multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplying? So we're gonna divide whatever you do on one side, do to the other side. What's 4 divided by 4? It's 1. What's 1 times C? C. So now the C is by itself. 22 divided by 4 is what? It is a decimal. All right, don't do it in your head, use a calculator. But yes, it is 5.5. All right, so that's how you solve. Undo what's being done. Start with what's farther from the variable. This we already answered. How do you know that they're not solutions? How do you find the solution? Great. But what does that mean now? What does the C represent? Grams of carbohydrate. All right. So in general, what does the solution to an equation be? So in our problem, the 5.5 represents the grams of carbohydrates, right? So write that somewhere, 5.5 grams of carbohydrates. You guys know what carbohydrates are? Carbs. So like bread, pasta, sugar are carbohydrates. So they're talking about food. But in general, what does a solution to an equation mean? How would you generalize it in your words? So the solution to this equation was grams of carbohydrates. The solution to any equation would be the longer this takes, the less time you have to practice. Aubrey S. Thank you. So earlier we established that the solution would be what the value of C is. So how can you generalize it for all equations with the solution? When I tell you to solve for an equation, what am I asking you to solve for? So the value, I'm sure there's somewhere for you to write this. The value of the variable that makes the equation true. Right? So the solution is the value that makes the equation true. Weekend earnings. Jada has time on the weekends to earn some money. A local bookstore is looking for someone to help sort books and will pay $12.20 an hour. To get to and from the bookstore on a workday, however, Jada would have to spend $7.15 on bus fare. So this you will work on with the people around you. I know some of you don't like to work with people, you still need to have a date. So if you can't work with someone, then you have more work to do on your own. So answer those questions. I know there's a blank side on the back of your paper, just write down the important stuff. All right, so what is an equation that represents Jada's take-home earnings in dollars E if she works in the bookstore for 8 hours in one day? Hold on, we need to get more people to answer other than like the 23 people. If you don't start volunteering, I'm gonna start calling on you. And since you're supposed to be working with the people around you, I might even say, what did your partner say? All right. So volunteers for the answer. See more hands than just Landon. All right, Ryan,
$12.02 H minus 7.15 would be
all right, anyone have something different? All right, that is correct. You can even put the E equals on the other side. So take a look. Know that it makes sense because how much would Jada make in 2 hours? $24.40. How much would she make in 10 hours?
$120.
$122. So what operation are you having to do? Multiply by however many number of hours you work. Why do we have to subtract the 7.15? That's how much she spent just to get to work. All right, so that takes away, which would be subtraction, from her take-home earnings, which is represented by the E. All right, if they give you specific variables to use, then use those variables. So her take-home earnings in dollars is E, the hours she works in one day is 8. Now, this part should be easy, hopefully. One day, Jada takes home 90.45 after working 8 hours and after paying the bus fare. Write an equation to represent that situation. Take like 10 seconds on your own, write it down. All right, now share with the person next to you. If you're in a group of 3, then share with both people next to you. All right, so what is the equation that represents that? Hands, I should see plenty of hands. You have 3 minds, some of you just 2 minds in your group. All right, Brianna, what does your partner say? What did you say? I don't say anything. Right. Aiden M, what did you say?
I got, well, I wrote down 7.15 minus
And that will tell me how much she makes. What else do we think? Yes? Any other answers that we have out there? Amari? All right, so now seeing some responses, is it clear now which one is correct? First, we needed to write an equation, so what do equations have to have? So it can't be the first one. And it has to be an equation that represents the fact that she takes home 90-45. Where does the 90-45 go? In for the H or for the E? In for the E, because the E represents stated take home earnings in dollars. So you shouldn't still have an E in there. It can't be that one. Then see if the rest of it makes sense. Aren't her earnings determined by how many hours she works minus the bus fare? Yes, and how much does she get paid per hour? $12.20. All right, and if you got the answer wrong, don't even feel bad, because some people didn't even care enough to try. So at least now you're 1 step ahead. And now you know for your. All right, next part. Since this is our given equation, we established that this is true. Determine if 4 is a solution, and then if 7 is a solution. If it is, be able to explain how you know. If it's not, also be able to explain how you know. So do that. Try it on your own, and then I'll direct you to share it with me. By show of hands, who thinks that 4 is a solution? Who thinks that 7 is a solution? Who thinks that neither of them are solutions? Okay, good. Better participation on that one. Why are they not solutions? Brendan? Oh, not right now. Wait till there's a pause and then after. But since you raised your hand, why are they not solutions then? That's not a good enough answer. How did we know in the first one? What did we have to do? We're on the question, that's on the screen. It's not printed on your paper.
I have no idea.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but the grading scale on your constructed response, if you tried, and even if you were completely wrong, you at least got like a 1, even a 2. If it was somewhat close. But if you put IDK, or you just put like nothing at all, then it's a 0. And there's only 3 questions. Can you imagine like how many points you're losing by not even trying? Try and get some. All right, but let's see, who else has their hand up? Amari? So you plugged in the 4 into the H, why? Why, Amari? Did you plug in the 4 into the H? So it asked if 4 was a solution. Solutions would be the value of the variable that makes the equation true. So enter that in your calculator. What'd you get? I don't have one on me, or taking this. 48.8, is that before you subtracted? Or after? So then you still would have to subtract it. But either way, even without doing the subtraction, the number I know would get smaller, right? And would it be equal to the 90/45? No. So that is why 4 is not a solution. Why isn't 7 a solution? Same thing, when I plug it in, do I get $90.45? No. Feel free to use the calculator. I don't expect you to do that by hand. It takes way too long to do it by hand. On a test, you need to make good use of your time. All right, but you all, even if you don't have a handheld calculator, I hate the iPhone calculators. You can't type in more than one thing. So you would really have to know your order of operations. But you all have a Chromebook, and at some point in the hour every day, you're gonna need it anyway. So you might as well just have it out and open to Desmos automatically when you come in. All right, but just type it in exactly how it looks on your paper. 1220 times 7 is what it wants us to plug in for the hours. Minus 7.15. Maybe don't write the equals, but just see if it equals that. Is 78.25 equal to 90.45? So that is why it is not a solution. Questions there? And then, of course, you could erase the 7, plug in the 4 that it asked, and again, not equal to 90.45. Some people chunk it in the calculator, like they'll do this separately, get their answer, and then subtract it. I say make your life easier and just let Desmos do order of operations for you. All right, so there's that. Now you know. In this situation, it didn't ask for us to calculate the solution, but we could if we wanted to. But in this situation, what would the solution tell us? So once we do find the value of H, what does that tell us about the situation? Brian?
How many hours she works?
Number of hours worked. All right. So the value of H is number of hours worked. Let's see. I do want you to have time to practice, but I still feel like a large chunk of you still don't know, so we're gonna do one more. We have calories from protein and fat. 1 gram of protein contains 4 calories. All right, let me make that easy to read. Again, this isn't printed on your paper. I printed it too early, so just jot down anything important, like the key takeaways. All right, but we have 1 gram of protein contains 4 calories. 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories. A snack has 60 calories from P grams of protein and F grams of fat. And there's an equation to represent. Now you're going to determine if each pair of values could be the number of grams of protein and fat in the snack. So is it possible to have 5 grams of protein and 2 grams of fat? And then at the same time, and have it. So we'll do A together and then you'll try the next 2 on your own. Where would I enter this 5? Because P stands for the protein. So rewrite your equation. But now instead of P, we're going to plug in a 5. Anytime you plug stuff in, use parentheses. Because this implies multiplication right here, so this needs to be multiplied. And then where does that 2 go? And for F, they define it in the problem. I would say use a calculator, but these numbers right here are pretty easy to work with, so I won't. What's 4 times 5? What's 9 times 2? What's 20 plus 18? Is that equal to 60? So no. This could not be a solution. It would have to be true for both values to make it true overall. All right, so no, my reasoning can be my verse. Now with you and your partner, answer these next two, we'll go over them. Is the combination of 10.5 grams of protein and 2 grams of fat a solution? Let's see. All right, so my equation, where do I plug in the 10.5? For the P, because that is for grams of protein. Where do I plug in the 2? In the F. Does that equal what it says it should equal in the given equation? Yes, in the given equation, it says it should equal 60. So these two values make the equation true. Are these the only possible solutions out there? No, there can be others. And we'll explore that in a different lesson, how you can easily find all the infinite solutions it might have. But yeah, the second one works out nicely in the calculator. What about C? 8 grams of protein and 4 grams of fat. Does that work? Let's see. 8 goes in for P. 4 goes in for F. It equals 68, which is not equal to 60. So no. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. This one's a good question. This one will help us with our solving, and then I'll give you time to practice. If there are 6 grams of fat in the snack, so where would that 6 be plugged into? Good. How many grams of protein are there? You can throw this one to them. 6 grams of fat. How many grams of protein are there? So what are we solving for? Which is represented by what letter? P. So the P should still be a P because that's our unknown. The F we're going to replace with a 6. Anytime you are trying to isolate a variable, what should you start with? Should I start with what's closest to the variable I'm trying to isolate, or farther from farther? So like this 9 times 6, which is what, by the way? So that 54, I'm gonna want to cancel out. How can I make 54 0? And whatever I do on one side. Good. So that cancels it out there. I almost have the P by itself. What's 69 is 54? Good. What's going on to the P right now? What's that 4 doing to it? It's multiplying. Opposite of multiplying is like, so divide. Whatever you do on one side. What's 4 divided by 4? 1, which does cancel it out, because 1 times P is just P. 6 divided by 4, someone do that decimal for me. I think I know what this is. 1.5. So for this question, how many grams of protein must there be when there's 6 grams of fat? Answer is 1.5. All right, and we solved it algebraically. I think algebraically is better than just guessing and checking, right? But there you go. Questions on the lesson today? All right, I'm gonna give you time to practice. That's 17 solid minutes. Make sure that you ask me questions before you're on your own and it becomes homework. And here are the goals for today. If you can explain what it means for a value or pair of values to be a solution, then you've met the goal. If you can find solutions to equations by reasoning about the situation or by using algebra, that's the other. There's a puzzle piece in school, and they go through the sides of that. Yes. What will be after?